What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And today, following the Kansas City Chiefs loss to the Buffalo Bills, I wanted to do 5 takeaways from the Kansas City Chiefs loss to the Buffalo Bills instead of my traditional post-game show, in which I did not have time to do last night. I wanted to do something a little bit different. Most of the time I come out here and I just spit out everything that I'm thinking, but now that I've had about 24 hours to digest the results of the Chiefs' first loss of the season, I wanted to do something a little bit different, something a little bit more uniform. So I'm going to be doing 5 big takeaways from this game, the 5 biggest takeaways from the Kansas City Chiefs' first loss to the Buffalo Bills. Now, I always told you guys, as long as the Chiefs were still winning, I wasn't going to complain too much about their flaws. Until they started to lose games, I wasn't going to complain. I just, I would be objective. I would point out the things in which I'd be concerned about, but I really would never complain that much. But yesterday's loss, and I'm still not, to preface, guys, I'm not going to be overreacting to this game. It's one game. I'm not going to pretend that it's anything more than that. I gave this team the benefit of the doubt after everything we've seen over the past few years, the way that they were able to win the Super Bowl despite looking like complete crap at times in the regular season. I still have confidence in this team. They've lost to the Bills in the regular season before, and then they've gone on to win the Super Bowl. So everything is fine. The sky is not falling. However, we got to talk about some of the issues. And the first issue that I'm going to talk about, my first takeaway, is the Chiefs were playing with fire for a little bit, and eventually it was going to come back to bite them. The Chiefs were walking the tightrope there for a while. They even had a graphic on during the game about how the Chiefs' entire 9-0 run is basically made up of a bunch of fourth quarter comebacks, and they had like a graphic of the Kansas City Chiefs literally walking a tightrope. And, I can't really argue with that. This team has, and I said this in my postgame after the Broncos last week, there's been quite a bit of luck involved in the Kansas City Chiefs going 9-0. They very easily could have been 7-2 or whatever at this point in the season. But they got lucky a few times. They're 9-0, and that's great, and I never complained about it. But there were definitely flaws with this team that were flying under the radar because of the fact that they were winning games. There were plenty of opportunities yesterday for the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game, but the issues that have been plaguing them, especially as of recently, reared their ugly head. And I'll get more into those in my other takeaways, but my first takeaway essentially is the Kansas City Chiefs were playing with fire. They were trying to build everything they've done off of fourth quarter comebacks, and that came to a halt yesterday because it's just not sustainable. The Kansas City Chiefs were playing unsustainable football, where the offense would struggle to score 20, 24 points, and they would lean on the defense to essentially win the game. And the Chiefs had gotten bailed out a few times, but I think we're at the point in the season where you can't keep doing that anymore, and you have to take some of these games seriously. I saw a clip yesterday of Travis Kelce doing a little hand clap after the game, kind of like mocking the Bills' win because they are treating it like their Super Bowl. And, a bunch of people found it funny, but personally, I hate the smug behavior. This was a big game for the Bills. The Bills take this game more seriously than Kansas City, and, that's whatever. It's fine, but I kind of wish we'd take the regular season a little bit more seriously sometimes, just to show that you have that ability or to build confidence that you're going to need in the postseason instead of just sitting on everything you have until the postseason. I don't like doing that. And I'm not saying the Chiefs should have emptied the entire bag yesterday just to beat the Buffalo Bills in the regular season, but that game had pretty big implications for the 1 seed because the Bills are now only a half game back of being the 1 seed, and they have the tiebreaker over you now because they won the head-to-head, which means now you can't mess around. The Chiefs are still the 1 seed, but the margin for error is gone. I don't like the smug behavior that this team has developed in the regular season, the nonchalant behavior. I thought Mahomes looked much too nonchalant yesterday. The vibes around this team, despite the fact they were 9-0, just were not great, and it felt like they were walking a tightrope for a while, and it came back to bite yesterday. So that's my first takeaway. Second takeaway from this game, and maybe the most disappointing, is I think we can officially say the defense has taken a step back now since the injury to Jalen Watson. This is the third game in a row that the Kansas City Chiefs have not looked great, not looked like their usual selves. They were yet again horrendous on third down on defense. The Bills were 9 of 15 on third down. It seemed like every single third down they had a guy wide open, and I mean wide open. And that just can't be happening. And we thought better of this defense. And there was a point in the game yesterday where I'm thinking to myself, I don't have confidence in the defense here. And I feel like that's the first time I ever thought that to myself in a long time. Like, usually I could count on the Chiefs defense to hold it down when we needed a big stop, but it just wasn't happening yesterday. And I think this is all a chain reaction to the Jalen Watson injury, because everyone's like, well, how does one injury like break the entire defense? And it's because of everything that has to happen after that. Jalen Watson was your top outside cornerback. Because he's gone, you move Trent McDuffie to the outside, and then all of a sudden you have Najee Johnson in the slot. And I'll have a takeaway on cornerbacks here in a second, but yeah, that's just not going to do it. And then you have to move more LBs around or use the LBs in coverage against tight ends more. And it's all just a chain reaction that makes the defense significantly worse. And when the defense looks like this now for the third week in a row, it makes me think unless they get Jalen Watson back at some point this season, the offense is going to have to step it up. Like, the offense had the luxury of leaning on an elite defense for a long time. And I still think this defense is good, but I just think we need to get used to them maybe not being as elite as they were prior to Jalen Watson going down. The Chiefs allowed 30 points yesterday for the first time in like 20-something games. I mean, it had been a long time since they had allowed 30 points, but it happened yesterday, and I think this has been something that had been brewing because of the injuries on defense. And I know they're getting Charles Omenihu back, and that'll help the secondary. And I'll have another takeaway on the defensive ends because we're going to talk about them and the pass rush as a whole, everything like that, trying to keep everything in its own section. But I'm losing the confidence that I had in this defense before. The Buffalo Bills only averaged 5.2 yards per play yesterday, which is okay. But that was mostly because, the run game wasn't really working for them all that well. The Chiefs' rush defense is pretty good. We know that. They looked pretty good yesterday, besides Josh Allen running the football, of course. I still don't understand why Steve Spagnuolo didn't put a QB spy in there on that last fourth down. Makes no sense. I don't know if he's just trying to see something or what, but that pissed me off. Anyway, Chiefs' run defense looked fine, but it really just didn't ultimately matter because the Bills knew they could get whatever they wanted on third down. And that's how they won this game. So, yeah, just not feeling great. Third takeaway is going to be the cornerbacks. I don't know why Brett Veach didn't make a move at cornerback. And I get it. So, some people are going to say, oh, he has to have a team actually trade with him and yada, yada. But I feel like after Marshawn Lattimore, there wasn't a backup plan. Marshawn Lattimore would have been awesome. He would have been best case scenario. But you're telling me there wasn't a single guy on the Chiefs' radar that they couldn't have acquired for a third or fourth round pick or whatever, because the Jalen Watson injury has been catastrophic to this defense. We've seen that already because the alternative is Najee Johnson. And let me tell you guys, Najee Johnson is not it. He's not good. I mean, I don't know if people realize how many times Najee Johnson got burned yesterday. Even when Josh Allen ultimately didn't end up targeting him, but he was still getting ran by. And how many times he ends up on the ground? Like, I'll tell you what, Najee Johnson ends up on the ground more than any other defensive player I've ever watched. It's insane. And Najee Johnson is another victim of the Kansas City Chiefs training camp hype machine, because a couple years ago he was getting like first team reps during training camp or something like that, and everyone was like, ooh, Najee Johnson. I never bought that at all. And I know he got hurt, but I don't think he was ever really going to do anything. I mean, this is the same thing that the Chiefs have done with Justin Ross and Devin Key and DiCaprio Bootle, and everyone's like, oh man, first team reps in practice, this dude looks awesome. And then the games come on, and they're just not that good. And Najee Johnson is another one where, they can say whatever they want about him in practice, but when the games come on, he's just not that good. And I think, look, the dude was a 7th-round pick. He's a special teams player, and that's fine. There's a role for that on this team. But he can't be out there playing cornerback. And these are unfortunate circumstances that have, unfolded for the Chiefs to have to play him at cornerback. But, man, I just find it hard to believe that, Tre'Davious White wouldn't have been better than the worst corner on the Chiefs. I know he's older and he's starting to look a little bit washed, but, even the veteran presence, man, I think I'd prefer that over Najee Johnson. I don't know why Veach didn't trade for a corner, and I think it might prove costly for this team. 4th takeaway is going to be the offense. There was a point yesterday where they could have won this game. It was in the 3rd quarter. Chiefs defense got back-to-back stops. I think they were back-to-back 3-and-outs. The Chiefs were only down 2. That was your chance to take control of this game. The Chiefs never had control of this game. After Mahomes threw that interception on the opening drive, the Kansas City Chiefs had kind of been playing from behind the entire time. I know there was one point, I think, in which they were up, but the Bills, they kind of covered that up very quickly. And they really controlled this game for the most part. The Kansas City Chiefs didn't, and the Buffalo Bills even won the time of possession battle handily. They held the ball for 34 minutes. The Chiefs defense couldn't get off the field, and as bad as the Chiefs defense was yesterday, or as disappointing as they were, they got those 2 big back-to-back stops, and that's when you have to take advantage. And this Chiefs offense, it just there's so many things I could say about it. I mean, 14 points entering the 4th quarter. I think that's what they had entering the 4th quarter. It's just not going to get it done. It's not going to get it done. You have Patrick Mahomes, you have DeAndre Hopkins, you have Travis Kelce, you have Xavier Worthy. It should not look this helpless all the time. And this plays into my first takeaway about this team walking the tightrope. A lot of that was because the offense just kind of looks okay, whatever. They can run the ball, but the explosive plays aren't there. If you look at Mahomes' passing charts, there's a bunch of dink and dunk. This offense isn't threatening anybody at all. They're super easy to game plan for, and that shouldn't be the case with the Patrick Mahomes-led offense. They shouldn't be easy to game plan for, but they are because they don't really do anything. They don't utilize the middle of the field. They don't stretch the field, despite having a guy like Xavier Worthy. And a part of it is the play calling, the just overall game plan from Andy Reid. Sometimes it truly does feel like they're not even trying. So first half, right, Xavier Worthy was basically their entire offense. He had 5 or 6 targets in the first half. He was responsible for an entire drive by himself, including the touchdown. Looked awesome. And then there was the miscue with Xavier Worthy and Patrick Mahomes. Deep pass near the sideline. Xavier Worthy goes out of bounds. Now, half the blame goes to Xavier Worthy needs to drag his feet. He needs to have a little bit better field awareness, but he was wide open, and Mahomes led him to the sideline instead of leading him to the end zone, which made no sense to me. But after that, Xavier Worthy didn't get another target for the rest of the game. Come on. He was your best player in the first half. Where did he go? That's just poor game planning. DeAndre Hopkins, his snap count went down from the previous week. Why? He's probably your best wide receiver that you have. Why did his snaps go down? There was a play yesterday, and it was one of the drives in which the Chiefs defense got the back-to-back stops, where I believe there was a Wanya Morris penalty that backed them up 10 yards. It ended up being 3rd and 14 for the drive. And the play that the Chiefs run is a shallow pass to Travis Kelce, way, way, way short of the sticks. And I'm thinking to myself, why on 3rd and 14 are you throwing to a 35-year-old Travis Kelce short of the sticks like he's going to get that first down? He has any chance. That play has 0 shot of getting a first down. Why not even give yourself a chance? Why not run a hook and ladder even? Get creative. Like the Lions ran. I think it was either this past weekend or a week ago. They ran a hook and ladder. Just on a regular play. It wasn't at the end of the game where they were desperate and need a score. I'm just talking about getting creative on offense, giving yourself a chance to get the first down, even when you get backed up into a 3rd and 14 or a 3rd and long. That was something that used to feel routine for this team, is converting on 3rd and long. Now it feels like they go into a shell. Why is a A shallow pass to Travis Kelce that has zero shot of a first down, even being it just doesn't, like, that's what I'm talking about. It feels like the Chiefs sometimes aren't even trying. Like, they're not even trying to win this game. Mahomes looks nonchalant, and they go out there on that, like, 4th and 1, 4th and 2 to try to draw the Bills off sides, and it's like, I would have gone for it. Because especially with Harrison Butker being out, with the defense not looking as great as it's been, you need to get a little more aggressive on offense. You have to make up for that somehow. You need to score more points. The Kansas City Chiefs could have won this game so easy yesterday, but they look uninspired on offense. And I'm really hoping that there's a point in the season where it eventually clicks. And I'm trying not to panic too much because the Chiefs offense I left them for dead last year, and they somehow ended up winning the Super Bowl. So I don't think it's like unfixable, but man, like, some of this scheming and stuff just isn't even threatening the other team's defense, and I don't get it. So, offense, that was my 4th takeaway. 5th and final takeaway, and maybe the one that I'm most passionate about, is the Kansas City Chiefs defensive ends, the pass rush. Yesterday, the pass rush was god-awful. The Chiefs blitzed a ton, and even the blitzes were not getting home. And that's a really bad sign when the blitzes aren't getting home. This year, the Kansas City Chiefs are near the bottom in sack percentage in the NFL. Last year, they were 2nd in the league in sacks. And I've always said pass rush is the second most important thing on a team besides quarterback play. I firmly believe that. Maybe you could talk about left tackle play or whatever, but like, if you cannot rush the other team's quarterback in January, you have 0 shot of winning. The Chiefs' demise in the playoffs, if you look at their past playoff failures, they had awful pass rushes. You can talk about the 2020 Super Bowl with the offense. Yeah, defense was also awful in that game. That gets untalked about. 2021 AFC Championship game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Pass rush, awful. Awful. One stop wins that game, man. So, everyone wants to rush onto social media to talk crap on Chris Jones. Only 3 sacks in the last 10 games, yada, yada, yada. And I just roll my eyes at that because it pisses me off how fast you guys will turn on Chris Jones when it's not even his fault. Like, have you guys looked at the advanced metrics this year for Chris Jones? He has the most pressures of any defensive tackle in the NFL, and it's quite frankly not that close. He is still the most double-teamed defensive lineman in all of football. Like, he was double-teamed on almost 40% of the Kansas City Chiefs defensive snaps yesterday. It is not his fault. You have to get him help on the edges. I never see these critical posts on social media about George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, FAU. Like, I remember when Mike Dana signed that contract, and I was a little bit skeptical of it. I was like, what? Like, who were you bidding against for Mike Dana to give him this contract? And everyone's like, he's a good player. He deserved it. He's going to be your starter. And I'm thinking, starter? Like, why is Mike Dana shouldn't be starting? He's not a good enough pass rusher. Guys, Mike Dana has the worst pressure rate among starting defensive ends in the NFL this year. Mike Dana is a horrendous pass rusher. Yeah, he's a guy that can come in and set the edge, and he's a solid player, especially considering where the Chiefs drafted him. But he should be a 3rd or 4th defensive end, not a starter. George Karlaftis, this is what he is. I've always said this about him. This is why I wasn't a huge fan of the draft pick initially. I remember I got clowned on because I said the Chiefs shouldn't draft him in the 1st round. They took him in the 1st round. And look, he's outperformed even my expectations for him, but he's not a number 1 defensive end. I was listening to the RGR Football live show last night, and Dan Harm said it best. Like, this is what George Karlaftis is. He doesn't win a ton of his one-on-ones. He's a good clean-up sack guy. He's an energy guy. But you can't depend on him to win one-on-ones consistently in pass rush. And, like, here's Chris Jones just getting absolutely suffocated by the offensive line, getting double-teamed and triple-teamed, and still beating some of them, by the way. And the defensive ends just look lousy as hell. Like, this is a defensive end problem. The Kansas City Chiefs have invested 2 first-round picks at defensive end, FAU and George Karlaftis. They paid Mike Dana starter money. Mike Dana's not a starter. Like, this is an issue. Look at the other investments. Everyone is always quick to judge Chris Jones, but never the other guys on the defensive line. It can't be all Chris Jones all the time. Look at those pressure rates, those pass rush win rates for guys like George Karlaftis and Mike Dana. They are horrendous. They're two of the worst in the NFL, and these guys are getting a ton of one-on-one opportunities. And that's why the Kansas City Chiefs traded for Josh Uche, is because he's a guy that can win with speed. He can win quickly. He has a high pressure rate. Now, he hasn't done much yet. He's only been here for 3 weeks, so I'm still giving him a little bit of a grace period, but I'm really hoping that he can start turning some of these pressures into sacks. And God, I hope Charles Omenihu was close, and I hope he's going to be ready because this pass rush needs him. This defensive end room needs him. Otherwise, I don't see the Kansas City Chiefs three-peating. You have to have a pass rush in the postseason. You have to. So, yeah, that is probably my biggest area of concern. Maybe cornerbacks. I don't know. It's close. But, yeah, that's my fifth and final takeaway from this Chiefs 30-21 loss to the Buffalo Bills. Their perfect season is over. Not that it really ever mattered, but yeah, there's some issues for this team that need to get fixed. I hope yesterday was a wake-up call for them, a gut punch to let them know what they needed, how they can't feel so comfortable anymore. Margin for error for the 1 seed is gone, so we'll see how they respond. They play the Carolina Panthers this week. It's a chance for a get-right game. And let me tell you what, the Kansas City Chiefs need to destroy the Carolina Panthers in this next game. I don't want to see a 20-17 victory on a Kansas City Chiefs field goal. Like, I don't want to see that shit. I want to see a rout of the Carolina Panthers. I want to see it from this team. Let's make it happen. So, with all that being said, make sure you guys leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you agree, disagree with me on anything, I want to hear from y'all. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com for more. And I'll see you all in the next one. Go Chiefs!